George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. The people's preacher is in the house, Pastor Daren Jaime, the senior pastor of the People's AME Zion Church in Syracuse, the oldest African-American congregation in the city of Syracuse, or Black congregation, or the oldest church in Syracuse for our folk. And so one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about is finally some shovels in the ground for 711 East Fayette Street, and amongst other things that you're doing in the community. Pastor Jaime, good to see you as always, my brother.
Hey, good to see you, brother George. I mean, yeah, it is good to see you, man. And I mean, COVID has kept us away from each other. Been a long time coming, but I'm just grateful for you. I'm glad that you still got the platform, letting people be inspired. And I'm just glad to be a part of the show. But thank you for inviting me on. Certainly a good time for us. It's a greater time for our church, and we're just excited, man.
You know, really. So tell me about this project and what's going on there.
So, you know, you kind of touched on it, that we're the oldest African-American church, not just in Syracuse, the city, but the county. And so we started back on Kraus Street. That was the first building that we ever had. And that building since has been demolished and torn down. The second building that we had was our house of worship at 711 East Fayette Street. And at 711 East Fayette Street, there was Reverend Proctor over there. There was Reverend Thornton was over that way. And there was great history in what was known as one of the staples of the 15th Ward. This was a building that literally community meetings were planned for the Underground Railroad, the Freedom Riders, all of those things. And this was our former house of worship to where we are currently at 2306 South Salina Street. When I got here 15 years ago, almost now 16 years ago, the building was in utter disrepair. We had a small congregation that was worshiping there. I felt bad for them being there, but we needed to find a way to save the building or sell it. And originally we were going to sell the building. And it was Sam Roberts, who was then the assemblyman, said, "You can't sell this building. You can't sell it because there's too much history attached to this. The Masons used to be there. And if you look in the stained glass window, you see the Masons are there." And so Sam said, "We'll get together a committee of people that will help to try to save and work in preservation and that." And that's when the Save 711 committee came about. We got a $250,000 grant from him as the assemblyman at the time. And then we also got another $250,000 from DASNIC for regional economic development. So that gave us $500,000. But if anybody knows anything about state money, it takes forever to come down.
Right.
And I mean, for years, George, years, we were trying to get this money to come down from Albany to us and the loopholes and stuff. And we couldn't get it happening. And finally, we were able to close, begin construction last year. And now we're now completed with phase 1 reconstruction of the exterior. And then we're going to move to the interior. And the plan is for us to have a restaurant, cafe, community space with a culinary jobs training program. And that's what we've got. And we've got a great partner that I'll talk about later on. But certainly that's what we wanted to do because we believed a couple of things. Number one, we wanted to make sure that we had stability and remembrance of that 15th Ward. There's not much that is left of that 15th Ward that African Americans had a presence of. And this building was one. I had so many people try to get me to buy the building from me. And I recognized, I told my congregation, we're not selling and we're believing God for it. Number two is we also wanted to make sure that we were creating sustainability because we understood that in this particular space, it couldn't just be a museum of some sort. You had to have something that was going to be moving forward. So we came up with the culinary jobs training program and a restaurant component where people will learn the skills in there, take it upstairs and be able to work. And then also after that, if they find a job in the culinary field, they'll be able to get the adequate training. And those were the main things that we wanted to see because we wanted to have this building have sustainability. It's got great history, but we also wanted to find a way to repurpose it in a way that it showed destiny.
You mentioned that you are in partnership with some others on this. Who are some of those partners?
So we're glad to announce that we are going to have as a partner Manna Culinary Group. Manna, if you know anything about the restaurant in Buffalo, they have a restaurant in Buffalo. Manna will be the occupant of the building. Dale and Reggie and his wife Tracy are three phenomenal people. They were Buffalo's Restaurant of the Year in 2021. And they're going to be coming and they're going to be our occupants. Tracy already is teaching culinary school in Buffalo, bringing that curriculum here to Syracuse to teach. Dale and Reggie have years of executive chef experience. They will be running the restaurant and running the chef experience in the cafe. And so we've got that. We've also got our partners on Save 7-Eleven, Judy Wellman, preservation person that works so well, Kate Atwater from the city, Beth Crawford, Nancy Keefe Rhodes. We've got a tremendous group of people who have helped us to get to where we are. And so that's the plan, and that's what we got right now.
You know, it's fascinating. So this restaurant in Buffalo, Manna, M-A-N-N-A, is that how you spell it?
Uh-huh.
Like manna from heaven, right? Okay.
Exactly.
So where's this restaurant in Buffalo? I get to Buffalo a few times. I must have missed that this is there.
Oh, brother, you got to go. It's Manna on Northland. It's on Northland Street.
Okay.
And if you go there, you will find out that it's an African American owned restaurant. It was Buffalo's Restaurant of the Year. And it's in a space where there's also a training environment. There's a training, workforce training right there, and Manna Restaurant is there. You will see anybody from the mayor of Buffalo to elected officials, community officials, tourists, the whole 9 yards come to visit Manna. Recently, when the Bills were playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, Manna was selected by the mayor and the city to send buffalo wings to Kansas City.
Really?
To go against the mayor of Kansas City. They've got some great things they have going on in Buffalo. Recently, Kamala Harris was supposed to be there. The governor's eating there, both Cuomo and Governor Hochul. And so they've got a great track record of not just food, but food service, and training young people and allowing them to have their foot in the culinary door. And we're excited that they're going to be partnering with us here in Syracuse to bring that same energy right here to the Q so we can do it big.
So clearly you won't be affected at all by the 81 expansion because you're a little further in and you got the Crown Plaza right there and right across the street from you. So you're not obviously going to be affected. True?
They said the possibility may be a little bit affected. They want to use a part of the street, but ultimately no.
Okay.
We're excited for that. And we're excited for placement because we're right next to XO Taco. We're right over there by the Crown Plaza. A lot of traffic goes from the hotel down the block from the university. And so we're looking for Syracuse to come on out, the university to be a great partner and send some of their students and let some of their students be able to experience it. And so we're excited.
When are we going to put the forks? When are we going to able to put the fork in the food, brother?
Yeah, bro, our prayer is in a year. We got about one more phase, which is our phase 2. We're gonna need about $1 million, and we're raising that money right now. We're believing that hopefully possibly by year's end, we'll be able to announce that we've got that, so we could be able to move forward. And then hopefully we'll be able to do phase 2 next spring, and maybe hopefully be in the doors by summer or latest fall.
Well, listen, you talking hopefully, man. You're a man of faith. I see you making prophecies out here. So let's prophecy that it's just let's just set the date.
Oh, no. We're believing God for fall of 2023. We want the doors open. We're believing God, right. And we know that it's possible.
So fall officially starts somewhere around the 21st of September. So we're gonna say September 21st.
Yo, let me say it like this: before the snow hits. Let's say it like that. We want to say before the snow hits.
Y'all see that modification, right?
It is before the snow hits, bro. Yes,
sir. So before December 20. Well, we don't know. Wait a minute now.
Right,
before the snow hits.
Right.
Wait, now you see, I had to pause, right?
Right, because that could be October, that could be November. Yeah.
Right. Like, ooh, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. Let's say before the first snowflakes. How about that? Let's try that.
Yeah, that could be October 12th, Columbus Day.
We're gonna believe God. We're gonna believe God.
Like that. Yes. Brother, I think this is great for the community. And I think the focus, as you say, on our youth is so critical as we are in the midst of a really tough time in our community. Put on your other hat now as part of the trauma response team. What are you seeing out here?
I'm seeing poverty, George. I mean, I think let's be real. Poverty is real. And I think that when we talk about poverty, we're not being as truthful in some ways about the depths of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I've been to Flint, Michigan just about every year. And we visit Flint, Michigan. And Syracuse is really rivaling what I see occurring in Flint, Michigan with the poverty. The lead. No one is really talking at length
about the lead in our community.
About the lead in our community. We talk about what's going on in Flint, right? But the truth is we've got a lead crisis. It's not just the lead crisis that's dealing with the whole houses and windows. We've got a lead crisis because we've also got old pipes here too. And that's being funneled to our kids. So when we see aggression, microaggression, when we see poor testing, when we see the inability to be stable in an educational environment, these are things that sometimes are accustomed with lead and poverty. And we've seen the data and we've seen it happen in Flint. We're not talking too much about that here. And then also when we talk about here, we got to really be able to address the issue of opportunities for our young people. And when I talk about young people, I'm talking about these young people that we expect to go to school after hearing about a shooting, after seeing their loved one or someone that they know that's murdered, and the expectation that they're going to go to school the next day and excel at a high rate is false.
Pastor Jaime, do you think that that's our kids are expected to do that? Because when you hear it happening in in the suburban communities, many people living around here, you always hear immediately about the counseling and all of those services available. And I know that the Syracuse City School District offers those same services, but you don't hear it. When I mean don't hear it, they offer those services clearly. However, when it's reported after something happened in the media, for example, you don't hear that as and services and counseling will be available. You just don't hear it.
Oh, you're right, because you want to know why? Because they be out there every day.
Okay.
Because of what we're dealing with on a frequent basis.
Okay.
But we need to be able to deal with our young people in trauma, because trauma is real. We have to deal with these families in trauma, and trauma is real. And I've been advocating, Tim Jennings, Bay Noble, I've been advocating that families need a respite or a safe house or something to be able to deal. I'll give you a quick story real quick. As the chaplain for the police department, I'm out at the hospital with homicides and things of that nature. And there was a family that came to us at a recent homicide. They said, we don't want to go back home. They just shot and killed our loved one. We don't want to go back home. What if we're next? Where do we go? Can we find money for a hotel? Right? That's real, right? What do we do? Where are we helping people to be able to navigate through some of this stuff? So dealing with some of this trauma, dealing with poverty at a deeper level, and really talking about the effects of what's going to happen with 81, I think really needs to be brought up and discussed.
Let's talk about that, because that is also an issue that has come up. We're in the 15th ward, the old 15th ward, and there's concern about the displacement of folk who are, well, they're going to be displaced, right? If you're in public housing right now, you will be moving, and then the goal is to help you to move back. But there's concern about that. What are you hearing from your folks?
I mean, there's concern. There's concern about gentrification. There's concern about what the job situation is going to look like when this is all over with. There's concern about the future. When you look and see that 81 is going to come down, let's be honest. You look and you see Syracuse University, you see Upstate, they have built up to the max right there on 81. You take down 81, they're going to continue building into the community.
Right.
When they build into the community, then you have to ask the question, what's going to happen from here? You come over to the side where I live where my churches are, over by Brighton Street, you see nice, Syracuse University's established a new footprint for housing. You got Mirabito, the gas station. We got Family Dollars over here. I don't believe that that's for us. I have questions about the legitimacy of the sustainability of this community with what's going on right now. People say, yes, we're putting every plan in place to guard against gentrification, but I really see a real red flag for us in the community to pay attention to some of the things that are happening, because as we're looking around right now, people will be moving out, people will be forced to move out. And yeah, you have the right of first to come back first. But if I give you $40,000 and tell you to go somewhere and come back and see us, and you come back, you're not coming back here. So let's be honest. If you give somebody a voucher sometimes and say, hey, you know, you'll be the first one available, my history says it doesn't work. The people leave, they go somewhere else. And so I'm concerned about communities of color, and I'm worried about a repeat of what happened in the 15th ward, that we don't see that happen this time around, even though a lot more effort, I could say, has been put out, a lot more conversation, but we got to make sure that at the end that that this community is not steamrolled over.
And how do we do that?
And we got to stay vigilant. You got to be at the table. You have to be at the table. We have to ask questions. We have to voice our frustrations, and we have to continue to monitor what's going on. It's like they said with the terrorist attacks, if you see something, you have to say something. If we see something that we have problems with, we have to say something and not be afraid to question those who are in power, whether they're elected officials, whether they're, you know, whether it's government, whatever. You got to be able to get these answers, because our generations are going to pay for the decisions that we make right now.
Let me just say this came up a couple of weeks ago, but we're in power, right? Aren't we? We're on the council. We're on this. We're on that. We're in power. So what's up? Why haven't we been able to make sure that our power matters? Am I overstating that?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I think when we look at, we have got some great things happening. We've got a Black deputy mayor. We've got, Black common councilors, common councilors with communities that live in communities of color, that represent communities of color. I think right now you've got, a Black attorney, state attorney general. Al Sharpton ran this down a few weeks ago at the Tops Massacre funeral. We've got more African Americans and people in communities of color in position than ever before. And we have to pray for those persons that they can work in unison to help to develop an agenda and not be separated, so that way we can come together with the common good. So many times we talk about we don't have access or at the table, but now we do have people at the table. It's not just good enough for us to be at the table, but for us to set the table with our agenda. And I am very hopeful. I am very optimistic with what we have here at Syracuse, that this can happen. It's going to take some work. It's going to take you have to put some cohesion together, but we do have the pieces in place to be able to do it. Now we just got to bring it home.
That's Pastor Daren Jaime of the People's Senior Pastor of the People's AME Zion Church, a good brother in the community, doing some good work. We're going to look at the project that they've got on 711 East Fayette Street. It's going to be a restaurant, a culinary training institute. And we've got the date, y'all. It's going to be somewhere around October 2023, because he said before the first snow. And that's usually when we get some flurries around that time. And of course, you can catch him on Open and all kinds. This brother's out here doing this thing. And by the way, congratulations to all the work that's being done by the People's Economic Development Corporation?
Community Development Corporation.
What are y'all doing quickly?
Well, that's it. When you talk about what's going on at Fayette Street, that's under our Community Development Corporation. And then also, if you come across the street from the church, across the 2306, we've purchased that commercial strip row. We've had some challenges there, but we're glad to see Kiwi Treats is over there. Walik is over there. All Money Spends. We got the Love family over there with the shoe store. And so we're glad that we can create a space for economic and community development. And that's what we're doing with our CDC. We wanted to be stakeholders in our community. We didn't want the community to come in and just dictate what the neighborhood was going to be like. We took an active and a proactive approach in doing that. And so through the CDC, we've put more than almost $750,000 to almost $1 million into across the street to make sure that we are taking care of the neighborhood. And we're looking forward to hopefully, creating a more vibrant neighborhood for people to be able to shop, live, and also to be able to work.
A cornerstone in the community, People's AME Zion Church. Senior Pastor Daren Jaime up in here. Brother Jaime, we thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, G, good to see you, man. And you're looking real summerish, bro. I just need to say that.
I'm trying to keep up with you. Inspiration for the nation.